Nick Adams oversees both the financial and marketing actions, along with the day-to-day operations at Bellava MedAesthetics and Plastic Surgery Center. He is passionate about aesthetics and plastic surgery industry and is committed to helping Bellava's clients look and feel their best. A seasoned med spa owner, Nick entered the business when he, along with his wife, Dr. Donna D'Alessio, started Montville Med Spa and Pain Center, and then they later acquired the highly regarded Bellava MedAesthetics and Plastic Surgery Center in Westchester County, New York.
You got it.
So,
That's quite the mouthful.
yeah,
That's
but we make it happen.
mm, yes,
So Nick, you co-founded your first med spa with
Montville.
your wife.
Yeah,
Yeah, so tell us
correct.
about that.
So my wife Donna, she's Dr. Donna D'Alessio. She was we met in the city. She was a resident at Mount Sinai. We got engaged, came out, moved out to Jersey, and she was working at a private practice. I was a controller of a law firm at the time. And I worked with a lot of attorneys who had the similar, sort of the employee thoughts that we all have, where maybe they're a little unhappy with the employer and think that they could do it better. And physicians and attorneys are in a similar situation where they're obviously underneath people who have more seniority, maybe a larger client or patient list. And, that's a common complaint is that, maybe I could do this better. I could do this on my own. So after we were married and she came home a few days and started singing that tune, and I was not doing that for 20 years. And I told her, if you want to start your own practice, then go do it. I can help you set up. I can set up the infrastructure and systems and handle the financial end of it. And but marketing was a big thing for both of us. That was new for both of us. And I think anyone in this space would agree that that's the backbone. We getting new people in the door and creating, and now with social media, there's such a it just amplifies it. It's like it's the relationship with the patient. So yeah, that was our initial business in the town in which we live, Montville. And when I was pivoting out of my role at a law firm as a CFO of a firm and left to acquire a second location, which had a surgery center in Westchester. So we have the two entities now. They're about an hour away, so it's close enough for surgery referrals, but they're far enough away where they don't overlap in terms of patient outreach.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we
so
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, so what went into your decision to purchase the second one? Like you already had the first one going. What pushed you to expand?
Honestly, I think I was trying to buy a car wash at the time. It wasn't I did not know what the second entity would be. I was far from going down the road of a surgery center, and we came across, just because my wife is a physician and because we already had one of these practices, I was looking for something a bit more hands off, a bit more passive. And with the nature of when business brokers start seeing smelling medicine, they start pushing you in that direction. And we saw a couple different great opportunities in this space, including there was a couple places in closer to the city, in Essex County, and even one in Brooklyn that. But this Bellava had a plastic surgery center, an established plastic surgeon, Dr. Chang Soo Kim. I mean, just very, very impressive reputation. It was run very well by the previous owner. She owned it for about 7, 8 years, and was looking to pivot out into marketing. So there were a lot of boxes it checked. So even though I really was looking for something a bit more passive. So we could concentrate on the primary because we were still growing Montville. It was going to be a lot of work to oversee both entities at the same time, but it was an opportunity that it was too good to pass up. And we learned a lot from the existing business. We learned a ton that we then downloaded and brought over into the initial business, which was Montville. And to this day, they really balance off each other very nicely.
Nice. So, what would you say was kind of the steepest learning curve? I mean, you come from this financial and, marketing leadership role, then you're transitioning into owning a med spa. What was that like?
Well, probably as I was saying before, the marketing and that was the one area my wife and I both didn't have a ton of experience and but being living in the town at one office, living in the town, having that grassroots relationship with people and developing a patient base organically at one office, and then being forced to do the opposite at the other office. It sort of it forced us to learn both both avenues because I think there are practices out there where people don't market at all. They might have, these especially doctor like single physician practices that might have an esthetician or an injector. They might have a little bit of a small website. They might spend a little bit, through the front desk person some money to do some social media, but they're not really, they're doing it because they feel they're told that they need to, and they're maybe not fully vested into it. And that can work. There's people that have retired without spending more than $100 in marketing. But I think today I think you get eaten alive if you do that. But every small business owner does, I think, has gone down that road, regardless of industry, where they realize that they do have to um, put on the marketing hat.
No, it's very true. I was actually talking with someone just the other day. She's the number one med spa in her state. And I was like, what's your advice? And she was like, well, number one, you've got to market harder, and two is you have to close.
Yeah, sales cures all. I mean, if you have good, there's no problem that sales cannot cure. Can't agree more with that.
So maybe we just answered it, but looking back on your journey, what advice would you give to someone who wants to open their own med spa but doesn't have a strong medical background?
If someone has a business background exclusively, or if someone has is just coming out of school on the medical side, because I would look at those as two different individuals.
Yeah, let's talk about both of them because I feel like the two you just described are like so many of the med spa owners that I meet.
There's a lot of non-medical med spa owners out there. I think a lot of states have a gray area about having a medical director and not being the owner. It's something that I hear a lot, like these absentee medical directors, and sometimes I think it can work out sometimes, but I would say that the biggest challenge, really for both sides, is systems. Developing systems, sticking to the systems, um, testing them, improving them. I mean, that's something that is, I think that that's an element of business that's not taught very much. I mean, I went to business school. I didn't learn anything about systems. There's a lot of education out there that, I mean, I underwent, and I know a lot of people have had to do that, where you want the same thing to be done by two people at two different locations that have entirely, maybe not entirely different backgrounds, but you're just trying to get it's the McDonald's model, right? You want to be in one side of the world and the other side of the world and order a Big Mac and it comes out the same. Like that somehow McDonald's got to 15-year-old kids at either side of the globe to be able to make French fries the same way. Well, if they can do that, why can't you get an esthetician who, at one location to do a hydrofacial the same way the esthetician at the other location does it? Like, there's a uniform way of doing things, and it it's incredibly challenging. I think that it's not holding people accountable to those systems is challenging because you want to encourage some some level of individual, like, it's an artistic occupation. People have their own touch, the way that they do things. It's the reason you could have a system in place and the provider could be very effective because they do something that is counter to that system. And that, I think, is one of the hardest parts of being a manager is reconciling those two and
Mm.
maybe tweaking your system to so it's more appealing to the patient. So, well, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
So what kind of advice would you have for managers in allowing humanity within your business system?
That's a good question. Um, I would say you want to encourage new ideas, but keep the framework. Everyone has to know that there's a framework that has been put in place. It's not on a whim. It's something that's been put in place because it's been considered over a period of time and tested, but also know that it's open for conversation. I mean, I'm the least medically knowledgeable person in either building, and I'm very, I mean, I have no medical training whatsoever, so I'm open to, I mean, my wife is a brilliant physician, so I have that to lean on, but at the end of the day, yeah, like we know that they're going to come in. That's why you hire new people, right? You not hire new people for fresh blood to bring in new ideas, but it has to go through the process of your other systems. I think as long as you have a way of incorporating ideas like that, I think you will be successful in that area.
I love that. I think that so a lot of the topics that we covered today are things that every business leader faces at one point or another. And I think there's incredible value in seeing, oh, this is how Nick handles this. Maybe I'll do it a little differently, but I think there is power in building that community and understanding. Is there anything we didn't cover today that we should have?
Now, I think well, I do think that it's important that people going into this sector realize that it fundamental business principles apply here. And that is, there's a lot of generalizations when going into the medical world where business is left at the door. And certainly it's a business where the patient the customer has, the whole customer is always right. Well, this is about their health. So it's amplified. But, at the same time, you have to have structure and but it's those principles do apply at the end of the day. There aren't many exceptions I've found.
Yeah. When you're one of the things I love about principles, the definition of a principle is a truth that can be applied to life. And I think there is a power in what you're saying about adhering to sound business principles as you guide your growth.
I don't think
And
there's many sectors that I haven't heard of any that just do not apply to the traditional principles.
yeah. And then, I always like to end by looking to the future. Where do you see Bellava Med Spa and Montville? What do you see them becoming in the next 5 or even 10 years from now?
I my my goal is growth in a couple different practice areas. We have some things that are down very well, but I'd like to see there's some we're introducing in our new building. We just did a fairly large build out. Took us 3 years to do, thanks to the state of New Jersey and the township. But it, we have additional space, so we want to bring in. We're starting doing IV therapy. We're bringing in hormone therapy. We're growing. I guess that would be vertically or horizontally, but growth in different sectors, where whether it be hormones, the medical weight loss has grown tremendously this year, and it's interesting because as technology evolves and you have medical weight loss. Okay, so what does that do to cool sculpting? You may see a slight decrease of cool sculpting, but because you have all these people who have lost 70 pounds and their skin is reacting as the way you would feel it would react to losing 70 pounds, we've increased our tummy tuck business because no one wants their skin hanging down off their abdomen after they've lost that much weight. So
Right. They've put in the
um,
work.
just keeping, yeah, it's just, I mean, at some age, your skin does not pull back. Doesn't matter what you're doing. And that age is pretty young. So, there's an evolution to the business with technology. But I think on the business side, there is a huge gap for AI on operations and fine tuning, going back to the systems, fine tuning a lot of the time like giving people back the time that they're losing on tedious tasks and allowing them to do more. People are so scared of AI, and I guess there are some reasons to be a little bit concerned, but um, if I'm surprised that there is not more consultation in this space specific to AI. I don't I mean, I'm sure there is out there, but I feel like at this point we would be getting sales calls left and right to try to come in and make these functions more efficient. But, for all the jobs that it's supposed to be taking away from people, that's a good job right there, kids. Getting old people like us to learn how to going into an office and teaching them how to use this stuff because we don't. I'm 42 and I have no clue.
Well, that's what I love to hear, being on the AI side of things.
Yeah, that's there's got to be a marriage between the business functions and the AI. Like, it's not that complicated.
It's
But
very true. It's very true. It's amazing for how complicated it can be to get into the details on implementation. The solutions can be incredibly simple in nature. And I think that goes back to what you say about systems and principles.
well, if you buy things from three different vendors, right? And right now you have a human being who's physically, you're counting on that person to physically look at individual invoices and maybe once in a while say, hey, I think it might be 20% cheaper over here to buy this incredibly expensive product. Um, it just seems like that's not that hard of a fix for a machine to learn how to do that.
No, it's true. Sometimes we make it harder than it has to be. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think from where you started to where you are now, you have a good grasp on the future, and I hope that anyone listening can glean the value from this and apply it to their own med spa.
Thank you for having me, Christian.
Thank you so much for your time.